Hi, folks.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is there any particular order of operation at this time?
No, whatever works for you is fine with us.
Okay, great. Ms. Sheppard's available to be first, if that's okay.
Perfectly fine.
All right, Shep, come on. Thank you.
Are you?
All right, good morning. Can you hear us all right?
Yes, I can, sir.
All right, we're going to go ahead and begin. Just a second. All right, good morning. My name is Parole Officer Boisford. Today is Friday, January 17, 2025. This is the hearing of the Vanity Board Department of Parole. Following board members are present this morning by stating their names on the record. Certified they've reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Zaccanini.
Good morning, Mike Poole.
Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
Yes, Scott Sheppard, 382222.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Scott Sheppard, aka Savannah Sheppard, inmate number 382222. He is serving a sentence of 15 years and 18 months with 5 years special parole for assault first, risk of injury, unlawful restraint first, and 4 counts of possession of a weapon or dangerous instrument in a correctional institution. As of today, records reflect parole eligibility of March 18th, 2025. There is no victim input in the case. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed and shows that the offender has completed Tier 1 Voices, the short-term sex offender program, anger management, beyond violence, and new thoughts. Utilizing the order, the offender's overall score for recidivating falls within the low range. Mr. Sheppard, this is your opportunity to tell the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Thank you, sir. I just want to thank you all for allowing me this consideration for early release. I have a letter that I would like to read to you guys, if I may.
Sure. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. It took me a long time to fully accept what I had done to land myself in prison. I lost control on 2 separate occasions with my infant daughter, McKenna, and as a result, she sustained life-threatening traumatic brain injury due to shaken baby syndrome. I shook McKenna because I became frustrated with her crying. I was a first-time mother with poor coping skills, quick-tempered, impulsive, and struggled with anxiety and depression. Instead of asking for help like a responsible mother would, I chose to remain silent. Because of my actions, my daughter will never walk, talk, eat on her own, use the bathroom on her own, or function in any normal capacity. Doctors inform me that McKenna has no brainwave activity and will never recover. I am forever haunted by my actions and the sorrow I feel will carry with me to my grave. I'm sorry to McKenna, my family, my ex-husband, and his family. When I entered York, I was consumed with self-hate, anger, and hopelessness. My crime made me a target, and so I did what I had to do to survive. I created a name for myself so people would leave me alone. I made weapons, I assaulted staff and inmates, and disobeyed institution rules. I was reckless, I was dangerous, and I was violent. I didn't care about consequences and certainly didn't care about the people I hurt in the process, which was rooted in my narcissism and trying to keep this image. In 2016, after landing myself in segregation for the final time, I decided I'd had enough. I had dug myself into a very deep hole, and in that hole is where I began to self-reflect. I began therapy to address childhood trauma that was never dealt with, which contributed to my serious anger issues. I also realized I was struggling with abandonment issues, self-esteem issues, control issues, and self-worth. I was finally able to accept responsibility for my past behaviors and actions, which allowed me to begin the process of change. I repaired my relationships with my family based on honesty. I no longer wanted to be that person I tried so hard to create to scare and intimidate others. My gender dysphoria diagnosis in 2018, which went undiagnosed my entire life, has had such a profound positive effect on my mental health and outlook in life. Coming out and accepting who I am, I have been able to identify anxiety and depression as a result of my gender dysphoria. Hormone therapy helps to regulate my moods and reduce anxiety.
I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. I just want to remind you, in case you're not aware, this hearing is being live streamed to the public. So we won't be discussing any of your protected health information. If you choose to, I just want you to be aware that it is a public hearing. It's being live streamed. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
In 2019, I successfully completed a reintegration plan back into general population. I have remained ticket-free for 9 years. I've worked full-time as a truck worker in the commissary warehouse where I've been employed the past 4.5 years. I'm enrolled as a college student through the Wesleyan and CT State Center for Prison Education program, taking classes at night to earn my associate's and bachelor's degrees. I've involved myself in meaningful programming. Anger management taught me to use assertive communication to address my needs. In my past, I never used to speak up or let how I felt out, but now I use this method of communication daily, and it keeps me from holding on to anger. The group Voices gave me insight into the effect my crime has had on my family and community. My actions led to the loss of a loved one, and my family and McKenna's relatives have to carry this pain and loss for the rest of their lives. I volunteered for Top Tier 1 because I had an opioid addiction prior to my incarceration. I learned the importance of having a support system and leaning on them by speaking up if I need help. Sex offender treatment taught me how victims of sex abuse suffer lifelong trauma that affects their ability to trust others and maintain healthy relationships. I volunteered for Beyond Violence, where I learned to identify my triggers and find ways to cope with them in healthy ways. I adhere to a disciplined routine through diet and exercise, which is one of my coping skills to reduce stress and anger. The group New Thoughts taught me the importance of forgiveness. I forgive those who wrong me because I understand everybody makes mistakes, but in order to move forward, I must forgive. This allows me to coexist amongst others in harmony and to let go of anger. My conversion to Islam has had a positive impact on my life. I attend Juma and Talim services every week where I'm taught the importance of morals and being respectful and helpful towards others. My biggest change has been my communication with others. I built up my pro-social skills and learned to communicate my needs in a way that's non-aggressive and healthy. I'm a voice for both the transgender and Muslim populations here. Because of my advocacy, I've obtained 2 gender-affirming surgeries, and now others are able to access these life-saving surgeries. I advocated on behalf of the Muslims here when services stopped, which led to the hiring of an imam. My post-release plan I have a stable and supportive home to go to with my mom. I have a solid job offer in the shipping and receiving department of Black Iron Erectors in the same town I'll be residing in. I have a therapist named Jonah Earl out of the BGC Counseling who specializes in LGBTQ, ready to schedule me in for therapy once released. I will be continuing my college education, taking classes at night on campus to earn my degrees. If possible, I would like to reapply for my EMT certification and volunteer part-time to make a positive impact on my community. I have community support through the Intra-UMA organization, which offers LGBTQ Muslims like myself a safe space to practice my religion. The person I am today would never repeat my past behaviors because I've learned to channel my anger in healthy ways. I've learned how to be around people from all walks of life and develop compassion and respect others' differences. I've learned the devastating consequences that result from stuffing feelings and emotions inside and no longer shy away from expressing myself. These past 9 years, I have completely turned my life around for the better and gained the tools I need to be successful within the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that statement. We appreciate you putting your thoughts down, and you provided us with a lot of information. I understand your preferred pronouns are he, him, so we will refer to you as Mr. Sheppard throughout this hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
We have questions for you, and when we're done with our questions, we will deliberate and give you our decision here today, okay?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
We'll begin with my colleague, Mr. Pohl. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Morning, Mr. Sheppard.
Good morning, sir.
That was a very good opening statement.
Thank you.
You had to bring us from 2010 and actually prior. Because the offense here was, you described it, it haunts you. Your actions haunt you, and you know, you left the baby, lifeless, really, and I can understand through what you brought us through in what happened in 2016 that you began to address then.
I did.
That put you in that position.
I did.
And then, that's really important. Because one of the things that's most important to us when we're looking at release is, will the person offend again? And it's important what you shared with us about your process from 2016 forward. Addressing your childhood trauma and abandonment, self-esteem, and just the whole host of programs that you've taken. That's really important as well. Another thing that's really important, because it's a tough read when, you see 4 counts of weapons in an institution. You brought me anyway to a place where I understand what was going on there. It's certainly not an acceptable thing for any incarcerated person to be making weapons and then eventually to use one. That's just, it's a tough thing to see. But again, it's, you've done the work after that. Your beyond violence, your anger management, the Voices program, all of those programs show excellent ratings when it comes to your participation in them. And that's really important for us to see offender change. And I'm really glad that you went down the things that you've taken from each of those programs. It's really important to look at. The unlawful restraint. The unlawful restraint was another hard one to read. in 2016. You know, I was having a hard time with that, understanding what was going on there. Can you talk a little bit to that offense?
Sure. At that time, I was housed with an individual for about 2.5 months. Her and I were in a consensual relationship, and we did fight in the room. You know, I hit her. I had stabbed her with a pen. I was having an issue with another inmate at the time who was picking on me based on my crime. So I had gathered a piece of metal and I had fashioned it into a weapon, and I had hid it under my mattress. So somebody alerted the staff. So we had a shakedown happen. So the staff came down to the cell and they took my cellmate out and brought her to SEG. And then I had refused to come out. So I was giving the staff a really hard time. That was the impeding order. So I had 3 tickets that day. And I finally came out of the cell, went to SEG. They shook the room down. They found the weapon. So there was a DOC investigation that took place, a police investigation. So we were both of us were in SEG. And that's where the allegations of the PREA came up. And I was charged with all these things, but I took accountability for what I did for physically assaulting her. And then I went to court with the sexual assault charges, which the court dropped. And I ended up pleading to unlawful restraint. That's what happened.
So you know, as a result of that, you've gone through and you've had an evaluation, right?
Yes, yes, I did.
You've done the short-term program inside.
I did.
And that you would need to, right? That's correct.
Yes.
And making sure that what's happened here, I believe they're recommending that you take an additional program in the community.
Okay.
Is that right? Are you up to speed on what people are asking or people are recommending?
Okay.
I think I'm in the right place on that. I could be wrong. And certainly we want to make sure that if there are any issues that are there, that they get addressed, right?
Yes.
So that was important to look at. When it comes to, we talked about programs. I want to talk a little bit about substance use because there was an issue there with alcohol. There was an issue there with Oxy, right?
Yep. And prescription painkillers, yes. Prior to my incarceration, yes.
Was that Oxy or no?
It was prescription, Percocets, Vicodins, Darvocets, yes. I was getting them prescribed by my pediatrician when I was 17 for a back injury that I had sustained at that age.
So when it comes to substance use, I know, you know that you've gone through a lot during this incarceration, right?
Yes.
A lot of transformation, a lot of things that you've dealt with and such. One of the most important things to make sure that we have a handle on is substance use. Do you know where you are in terms of recovery-based things?
Yes. Well, when I came in, I was clean for 2 years. I was on Suboxone. And then when I came in, I was pregnant, and after I had the baby, they tapered me off of the Suboxone, and I've been clean since and haven't had any urges or cravings to want to use or anything. So I've been clean for quite some time.
Okay. So I know that you had put in for, I believe you put in for wanting to do the CCAR program and stuff like that.
So, I'm sorry, it was
The CCAR program?
I did, yes, I wrote for that and I never got anything out of it.
Right.
I wrote a few times, yes, yes.
So just my understanding when it comes to this, a recovery plan for you. Because
Yes,
You-
is my,
you under-
my support system, is my mom speaking up now because I never used to speak up. I used to hold all my feelings inside. I was, you know, I was ashamed of it, you know, and in my family growing up, I was never raised to express my feelings. You know, so I kept everything, I internalized everything. But I'm not ashamed or afraid to speak up if I need help, you know, that's the
Okay.
difference now. Yep.
so, but if I need help is a piece to look at. Because if you were using like that on the way in, and I know I'm not going to say it's easy because stuff's all over the place,
Right.
but staying clean on the inside and staying clean on the outside are two different things, right?
Yes.
You know how to handle the environment in there, but when you come out here, it's a whole different environment.
Correct.
And the last time you saw these people were at these places and were feeling, thinking, or doing these things, they surrounded using, right?
Correct.
So when it comes to triggering memories, commonly triggers today, but triggering memories, when you go out there, there's all of these memories that are going to come back. Okay.
Yes.
And what I'm concerned with is is there something more than just the support system, your mom and such, that you were thinking about when it comes to recovery?
Well, I also want to say too that a lot of my anxiety and depression that I had at a younger age had to deal with, I came to realize, my undiagnosed gender dysphoria. So now that I was able to come out, being diagnosed, a lot of that has been alleviated because I, you know, did the hormone therapy and surgeries and such. So I don't have a lot of those depressive feelings and anxiety that I did as a child, you know. So a lot of my what I was using was to cover and cope with those feelings, you know, from my gender dysphoria and my childhood trauma. So, but yeah, I mean, the Suboxone did help me a lot when I was on it, and certainly saved me, I think.
So have you ever thought about LGBTQ meetings?
Well, I have a support through the Intra-UMA organization, and it's for LGBTQ Muslims and marginalized Muslims. So I have that community support. So I, you know, I have that community of people that are like me, you know, and that feels wonderful to have. So I can be who I am, and I don't have to shy away from that. So I have that to lean on as well.
Are they people who are in recovery?
I don't know. I mean, they could be.
So just so you know, there is in the AA and recovery community out here, especially where you're going in the Hartford area,
Okay.
there are LGBTQ meetings. And they're very supportive, of course, and welcoming.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's great to know.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
right.
Yep.
And so you've engaged with Wesleyan in the prison education initiative there, right?
Yes, sir.
And I see that I saw one class, probably saw a few more. There were a lot of documents related to this. But how far into the program are you?
Well, I originally started at Quinnipiac University here through the program here. I was Quinnipiac/Trinity, and they worked together. And the only thing with them is they were doing 2 classes a year. So I just transferred over to Wesleyan last semester, where they're offering up to 4 classes a semester. So I have over 30 credits right now. So I'm more than halfway to my associate's degree. Yes. I did statistics last semester and I did intro to computers, which I aced both classes.
Okay, and then, so at a layman's level here, what are you doing with astrophysics?
I love the mathematics. I just took statistics. So this is basically opened my mind to other possibilities and different degree options for me, because I originally wanted to major in foreign language. But I got an A in math, and I love math. But so physics, the science, and the mathematics is really drawing me in. So I changed my major. I want to major in physics. And as far as astrophysics, I love to learn about the universe as a whole, space, all that stuff's very, very, very attractive to me. So I'm going to go for that.
Right. There's some people that can do that, and there's other of us that can be people who appreciate people who can do that. So you do have your sponsor to your mom, and you do have a letter from employer
Yes.
lined up. And that's, I think that'll do it for me. I see what other board members have.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Okay, so Mr. Sheppard, I think you've covered a lot of ground with my colleague. I want to express some of my concerns. So you've talked about some of the positive things that you're doing in the facility, how you've changed over the years, but I still have remaining concerns. So I heard you say this change began in 2016?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you had these very serious disciplinary reports, I'm curious to know why you didn't involve yourself in programming at that time. So you described the latest incident, which is a sexual misconduct, as domestic in nature, but I see in your file that you did the Beyond Violence program just a few months ago.
I did, yes.
Right, so why did it take 8 years to do that program?
Well, because in 2016 was the last time I landed myself in SEG. I was having, this was even before my transition too. So I was having a lot of problems. I hadn't processed a lot of my childhood trauma. I hadn't, my relationships with my family were very, very rocky. So I was still kind of working on that. And I wasn't being honest with myself either, so I wasn't getting to the root at what was going on with me until I went to court the last time in 2016. And when I came face to face with the judge who sentenced me for my crime for why I'm here, that was one factor for me to wake up. Because she warned me. She said, if you come back into this courtroom, I'm throwing the book at you. So it's really a wake up call at that point. I was like, I need to turn things around, because where I'm going is I'm going down, and it's like the pain that I was putting my family through. I was realizing, I needed to make changes. Otherwise, this is going to be my life. Like, what do I want out of my life? Do I want to continue doing what I'm doing and getting in trouble, or do I want to make changes? And that's when 2016 was when I really said, I need to make changes. And that's when I started therapy. I did one-on-one therapy while I was in segregation for a few years. And I was carrying around all this pain and all this trauma that I dealt with. I had never processed it, even out in the community. I was in and out of treatment, but I never really processed it. So I was able to kind of identify what was really going on with me and start working on it. And then I got diagnosed with gender dysphoria in 2018, and things just kept getting better and better. And I just felt good about myself. My self-esteem went up, my relationships.
Maybe you misunderstood my question, sir.
Okay.
And for the record, you were in administrative segregation prior to this ticket. That was earlier on. That was from 2012 to 2014, not after. So my question was, if the incident that you described was a consensual relationship and domestic in nature, why did it take you 8 years after the incident to take a domestic violence program?
I don't even have the answer for that. I just wanted to take the group to see what I can learn from it, you know,
Okay. But you needed the group if it's true what you say, that it was domestic in nature. And I guess I'm a little concerned that you're basically saying that the victim in that offense is lying about the details of what happened.
Well, about the sexual, yes, the sexual.
Well, why would she
but not
lie?
physical.
Why would she make that up?
Because there was a police investigation going on.
Okay.
And she didn't want to get charged. My thinking is she didn't want to get charged with the weapon that I had in the room. That was my thinking of it.
So she made up a whole story about being sexually assaulted to avoid getting a ticket for a weapon in the cell?
That's what I think, yes. False allegations of PREA happen a lot here. And
Okay.
when I had a jurisprudence hearing with the parole board in June. Yep. And I explained everything to them as well about what was going on. And it happens a lot. It does happen a lot here.
Okay, but so do you admit that there was sexual contact, but it was consensual?
Yes, there was.
Okay, well, that's not allowed. That's against the rules of the prison.
It is.
Okay. So regardless of what the sexual contact was, you violated the rules.
I did. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I have to be honest. I'm not sure that you're being completely open with us today, and I'm a little concerned that much of your change in programming and education came this year when your parole hearing was coming up. In one of the reports we read that they wanted to house you with a roommate to prepare you for a halfway house for community release. And you said, no, if you put someone in my cell, I'll physically harm them. You're putting someone at risk. Why would you say that just a year ago? Why?
Because I don't want anybody housed with me because they house trans males with cis female inmates. And to me, that's inappropriate. I don't want to do that.
So how would you transition to a halfway house?
Well, I didn't want to go to a halfway house.
So basically you're trying to make your own rules.
No, that's not true, ma'am.
I mean, threatening physical harm to other inmates to avoid getting a cellmate is certainly not something that the parole board wants to see.
I understand that, but
You're
I told
trying
the
to
board.
see change, and you're incarcerated for a very serious assault first.
Right.
And you've had 4 additional convictions for making weapons in an institution. And actually you stabbed somebody with one of the shanks in one of your fights.
Yes, ma'am.
It's concerning to me, sir, because we see a lot of positive things that you're doing. I see all the positive things, but it makes me question whether you're doing these positive things just to get parole or if you really have changed, when at the same time I'm seeing that you're threatening to harm people.
I threatened to harm because I didn't want anybody put in my cell. I knew that was a manipulation tactic that I told the staff I didn't want to be housed with anybody so I can stay housed alone. I didn't want any false allegations of PREA. They house trans males with cis females, and to me, that's inappropriate. Yes.
Yeah.
And I had since rectified that with the warden, and I told her the truth. I told her that I had lied to her, and I apologized, and I knew it was wrong. I need to lie to her about that,
Mm-hmm.
And she told me that she was going to keep me housed alone based on my GNC, or gender nonconforming.
Yeah. That probably would have been the better route to take. What you just described, the conversation that you had and being open and honest, and ultimately you got your wish, right?
Well, but they weren't seeing that. I even showed them my reintegration plan from 2019, and they were like, well, you're not that person anymore. It doesn't matter, whatever, you're going to be housed with somebody. And I couldn't let that happen. I can't let that happen. I'm not going to be housed with a female. It's inappropriate. That's very inappropriate to me. I'm a man. I've transitioned, and that puts them in an awkward situation too, because a lot of the women in here are uncomfortable with us too. They don't want to be housed with us. So I don't want to get falsely accused of PREA. So that's why I lied to the warden. Yeah.
But there's a lot of manipulation going on here. It was fine when you were in a sexual relationship with someone else to be housed with a woman.
That was before my transition. I wasn't transitioned yet. Yes.
I understand.
Yes,
You did receive excellent work evaluations, in anger management, voices and beyond violence programs. The tickets and the outside charges are very concerning. So what do you know of your victim's status today? Do you have family, anybody in contact with your victim? We
I
did
do
not,
not.
for the record, we did not receive any victim input for this hearing today. And there was outreach done by the Office of Victim Services. Do you know anything about the status, current status?
I do not.
Okay. All right, Ms. Smith-Palmieri.
Thank you. We've covered just about everything. I just want to follow up on one small. So, Mr. Sheppard, when you're interviewed by the parole officer, they ask, a common question is, can you identify any high-risk situations? So your response to that was drama, any drama. So I'm interested to hear what you can foresee to be drama that might cause you some difficulties in the community.
People that are engaging in drugs, alcohol, that type of drama is what I mean. Criminal activity, people that don't have their mindset right or wanting to do the right things.
Okay. Can you tell me along the, in term with being in the community, what do you foresee to be difficult?
Well, I don't see much. I know it's going to be a transition. I know it's going to be a big change and a big adjustment coming from prison, doing 14 years back into the community. So that's why I have a therapist lined up. I have a good support system. And, I'm going to have to rely on that, especially with therapy and being open and expressing myself so that I don't go back to how I used to be before I came in here, holding up all my feelings inside. But I know it's going to be a big change.
It is going to be a big change for many reasons, right? You're not the same person that you were before you went in.
Right.
You had no relationship with your family prior to going in.
Did not.
To jail, and now you re-engaged with your family, your mother specifically, who's agreed to be your sponsor, and you have employment. How often do you talk to your mother?
I talk to her daily.
You do?
Yep,
Okay.
phone calls, e-messaging, and she visits every once in a while.
Okay. Have you two talked about, how it will be to live together?
Yes.
I hate to use the word ground rules, but, like you just said, you've been in jail for 14 years now and you were no relationship very little prior to that.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So it's going to be an adjustment, not just for me, it's going to be an adjustment for my mom too. So I have to be mindful of that, because my mom, she lives alone. We have the dog, but it's going to be a very good adjustment for her. So I understand that.
You had no criminal history prior to this assault.
I do.
No adult criminal history.
I
That's what I read.
That's what I read. Yeah, no adult criminal history.
Prior to 2010, right? Just to clarify that. We don't have anything listed.
Oh yeah, prior to that, correct.
Right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Sheppard.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so now the panel will enter into deliberation, and we'll come back to you with our decision, okay? You can listen to our
Okay.
deliberation, just please don't interrupt. Thank you. Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Certainly this offense is it's a very rough one to read. And Mr. Sheppard recognized that by talking about how his actions of the time still haunt him. And that, his child has really little to no brain activity. And with Mr. Sheppard's transition, he dealt with a lot. Again, by no way does this condone anything, but I can understand the fear that was there based upon the offense in the institution, and which resulted in, 4 cases between 2011 and 2013 of weapons in the institution. 2016 event was a catalyst, I believe, for Mr. Sheppard, as he explained, where he went through and started to deal with childhood trauma, and he stated gender dysphoria, and to try to come to a place where he's okay and to engage in rehabilitation, which he has in several ways. Point made about beyond violence and anger management in the programs that he has taken recently. All of those programs received excellent ratings. Engaged in education between Quinnipiac and Wesleyan in a very intelligent level of academics. One that I already said, God bless the people who can do it. I'm not one of them. It's but to have somebody that understands that kind of stuff and engages and gets A's doing it is really important. In terms of a release plan, release to his mother in a home where he has a job lined up in the same town, certainly wants to continue with his education and can take classes along the way. He's connected and been part of and actually advocated for Muslim services, which we know is a very nonviolent way of faith when it comes to that. And he has also identified a group upon his release of people of the same mindset that can offer support for him in the community. And while he has been in, he's advocated for certain things, and it's led DOC to make some positive changes. Although we did talk about how some of those things, some of the ways that they were done, might not have been the best way for him to accomplish that. Hasn't had a disciplinary report since 2016. I believe that Mr. Sheppard would be suitable for parole, and that would dovetail into 5 years of special parole that he has. And I think that support and the support that he has in the community would lead to his success.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Okay, so I think I've already expressed some of my concerns. While he has taken the programming, many of these incidents, and very serious incidents, weapons in the facilities are a problem. openly admits that he stabbed 2 people with weapons that he made in the facility. There's some dispute about whether or not the sexual misconduct was consensual. However, regardless, it's not allowed. Sexual contact in a prison is not allowed. He has taken great programs, but as I expressed, his change that he claims began in 16. Years later, we see the programming taken. So I wonder if it's another manipulation tactic, if we're taking the programs because we have a parole hearing this year. And recently additional threats of violence in the facility, and why he didn't get a disciplinary report for that, I'm not sure, but very concerning to me, along with the very serious assault first case that left a child that you described it as lifeless forever. Destroyed an infant's life forever. He does have 5 years special to file, so we'll have the supervision that he needs to be successful and hopefully continue on what he claims to be a new positive path. But I do not feel comfortable granting parole today, so my vote would be to deny. Ms. Smith-Palmieri.
Wow. Well, there's a lot happening in this case. I do think that Mr. Sheppard, Mr. Pohl pointed out a number of changes that Mr. Sheppard has made throughout this term of incarceration. I do think, as we've all noted, that the biggest transformation occurred after 2016, which is 8 years ago. I did go through a reintegration plan, which looks as though it began in 2019. Over the last 5 years. It has 6 phases to it that help Mr. Sheppard, one that helps him reintegrate into regular population, and 2, provides oversight as he does that. It is a very detailed plan. He seems to have accomplished, from what we can see, all the phases of that plan. In terms of, I did read all the reports. I did see in 2023 the indication that, his manipulation in terms of trying to remain in a cell without a roommate. There are a number of reports that speak to his progress. I do see that he has, I go back to the beginning, his opening statement. I think that Mr. Sheppard admits from the time of arrest through the court hearing and what we see today, he admits what he did to the child, causing grave harm that will never be undone. He admits to all the disciplinary reports that involve the weapons, as was pointed out by the chair. And, whether or not you accept his explanation for the new charge of unlawful restraint, he was sentenced to 18 months consecutive for that charge as well. I do see that he has taken all the programs that we've talked about, including a sex offender treatment program, the 12-week program, in 2021. The Beyond Violence, as was pointed out, in 2024. I did see that he does have great support in the community. There was a letter from his mother, from his aunt, offering support as he transitioned back into the community. I think the fact that there's a letter verifying that he has employment is another piece of stability in the community. His last disciplinary report, as we've all stated, was 8 years ago, and included a plan for bringing for reintegration. I think he has treatment set up in the community, not taking away at all from the charges that are before us today, as been stated as an assault one. I do feel that Mr. Sheppard has served almost 14 years now, or actually over 14 years now.
Almost 14.
He's been in
He came in
2011.
March of 11, yep.
Yeah, March of 11. I do feel that he has set himself up to be successful in the community and to reintegrate. So I would also be in favor of granting his discretionary.
Thank you. Okay, so his date is 3/18/25. He's got 5 years of special parole to follow his sentence. So I'll suggest some conditions because I would contribute to that conversation anyhow. There's a victim MS, mental health evaluation and treatment, no contact with minors, no victim SC, probably sexual behavior treatment and domestic violence. Anything?
I had no alcohol, so
Okay, yep. Okay.
yeah, no alcohol, mental
And
health.
no alcohol.
Did you say anger management?
Deep domestic violence.
Okay.
Which has a component of anger management in it. I think he's got more than enough stipulations here.
Yeah, MS and SC for victims?
MSSC. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. In the matter of Scott Sheppard, also known as Savannah Sheppard, number 382-222. There's a motion to grant parole effective March 18th, 2025 with the following conditions: no contact with victims MS or SC, no alcohol consumption, mental health evaluation and treatment as deemed necessary, no contact with minors, problem sexual behavior treatment, and a domestic violence program in the community. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. So this is a majority decision. The chairperson is dissenting for the reasons, the nature and circumstance of all of the instant offenses and poor institutional adjustment. Your conditions will follow over into your 5-year